So for people that didn't have that background in wrestling, that didn't get the conditioning mentally to be comfortable taking losses and things like that, what advice do you give to kind of embrace the suck, so to say, of the grind of learning jiu-jitsu?
I talk to my students about this stuff all the time, especially when they're starting to, they want to compete. They want to get to this high level. I tell them, I said, listen, everything that you're doing now is practice for years from now. I don't care if you win this local event. I really don't. I care that you go out there and you participate in this event and you work on the stuff that we've been working on and try to get better at it. You're probably going to lose. And if I know that one of my students is not ready to lose yet, and he's not ready to go out there and take a hard match, I typically tell him, like, you should compete a little bit later on. I've got to build that into them first, because I've seen it so many times where, especially when I was training before I had my own school, with teammates of mine who came in later and, later on, people would be super talented. They'd come out, they'd win matches early on, right? They'd do well. They'd win these local white belt events. And then all of a sudden they go against somebody who's actually good, and they just get killed and they quit. I know of at least 2, but I think 3 guys that one of the local guys from who were around from here who was really good beat, and those guys all quit because they had a little bit of success early on beating, a bunch of white belts and blue belts that weren't very good. And then they went, against this hammer, and they got flattened and they just destroyed them. And so I try to let my guys know early on, like, listen, you're going to lose, and that's okay. But, it's what you do after you lose that's the most important thing. How you react, number one. And number 2, are you back in the gym working on the stuff that, you lost with or that beat you from that previous event? And for the most part, I get that point across really well to my guys. And, my guys will go all over the country with me, and we'll compete in local events and regional events, and then these national level events. And, I haven't had any of my guys who are really trying to become really good quit because of losing, which is really common, which I'm sure, you've seen through your career. But that's the number one thing. You have to be okay with losing early on. I don't want you to lose. I don't think it's a good thing that you lose every match that you go into, but you have to learn how to do that. So when you can come back and get better and produce better results when you get to a higher level, that way you're not losing in the first round when you're a black belt. Instead, you're making it into the finals and into the middle rounds, and then getting better and better and better and producing better results. But white belt, blue belt events, purple belt events, they don't mean that much, not in the grand scheme of things if you're talking long-term results for your career, I should say.